What's going on, everybody? We're here. We're live. Brand new Poker Live podcast. My name's Joey Ingram, AK Chicago Joey. You might notice something different about me today, and you're right. I am wearing these glasses, and I do not wear these on a podcast. I only wear these on a podcast when the subject matter is a very serious matter, a very serious issue to discuss, a very serious thing going on in the poker world. I will take out these glasses for a brief period of time until I get rid of them because I don't actually wear glasses. I just think they make it look serious. And this is a serious discussion with a serious man out there. We're getting to it, guys. My coach says I need to mention something at the beginning of each podcast. So the 300K Super High Rollable is coming up on PokerGo. And if you guys do sign up for that, for your yearly sign up or whatever it is, use the promo code Joey or use Phil Galfond is your favorite Potman Omaha player. Use either one of those two, and you'll be able to get $10 off on PokerGo. And I don't know. I want to get into it. Let's get into it right now, guys. Joining me on the podcast today is a young man. Listen, this man's arc in poker. What an arc. Started off as a member of a ragtag bunch of squad members who played sit and goes and probably got a little bit out of line in their life. Turned into a man who played no limit hold'em cash games out there. Turned into a man who started putting out training videos. Then started rising through the high stakes. Then switched to the great game, a Pot Limit Omaha. Mixed up in there was a Blue Fire Poker, a Poker Static. There is another site in there I'm missing out on for sure. I know that. I can't remember. I think there's another site too. Then he decided, you know what? I'm going to do poker training. I'm going to start Run It Once, debatably one of the best poker training sites in the world. Very confirmed at the site that I learned how to get better at the great game of Pot Limit Omaha through this man's videos. A man who then decided, I'm going to get married and stop traveling outside the USA. And then he got maybe bored one day. He decided, you know what? I'm going to start a poker site called Run It Once Poker. A man who's been releasing updates for the upcoming poker site, Run It Once Poker, and the community is ablaze with discussion. And we're going to talk about some of the things recently discussed in his last blog post that had to do with the games on Run It Once Poker being HUDless, no HUDs allowed, but there'll be a dynamic avatar system in place that will have, I think it was 7 different characters, which we're going to get more into, and that depends on how the player's playing. We'll talk more about that. We'll also talk more about the tables being anonymous in the games and how the hand histories will be put out there and how security will be done, how the potential collusion and that kind of stuff will be done. Where that was my longest interest of all time. We're joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Galfond. Phil, what's going on, Big Poppy? What's happening, man? Welcome back to the pod.
Not too much. Thanks for having me, Joey.
Guys in the chat, let me know how the audio levels sound. If they're if one's loud or if one's not loud for me, please. That would be very much great appreciated. Phil, how you feeling, man? You just released an announcement for Run It Once Poker. Looks like things are finally moving along here at a pace where people are not happy still because people they want things immediately, and unfortunately it takes a long time to put out great things. So you put out this recent blog post, man, and what's been the feedback from the blog post from the poker community?
Feedback's been mixed, which is what I expected, kind of no matter what I picked. I'm getting some echo, by the way. I don't know if they are.
We'll have to find out here. I'll fix the audio levels here a little bit, guys.
Cool. Yeah, feedback's been mixed, which is what I expected. With any policy decision, there are people that fall on either side. For the most part, there are very few that are just like universally loved policy decisions, and so it's a kind of a necessary evil of putting out a poker site, and it's tough because you spend a very long time, going over possibilities, and we ended up, cobbling together the policies and features that we thought would lead to the best overall games and best things for the players. And some people like them, some people don't, and whether it works out remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is I can't really guys in the chat, calm down about the glasses, for fuck's sakes, okay? I put the glasses on one time for serious, and that's it. I'm gonna take them off. Calm down. I know you guys, Phil. We got a lot of professional fashion experts out here who dress well. They look good. They're smelling good. They're feeling great, and they're commenting on my glasses right now. Listen, guys, I'm putting glasses off. Calm down. But it mixed out there, and I can't believe how passionate some of these people are like that. Oh, this is not going to work. These dynamic avatars. Oh my, what is this guy talking? Is this guy? I just can't believe how passionate these people are with their their definite belief that this is these are the worst, some of these ideas are bad, or some of these ideas. I just don't know where that sort of belief that these people have comes from, and just feeling like they understand that this is good, this is how it should be done, this is that. And now, how many hours have you and your team put into deciding on the changes and on the settings that are going to be for the poker site?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. It was countless hours, and you know, a lot of decisions we came back to several times. You know, we would meet, go over different decisions. We'd have shared documents, commenting and things like that, and then make a decision, and then, you know, revisit it later, because once you bring in other policies or other features, they don't necessarily work together. And in some cases, even though nothing changed, we changed our minds as we just learned more or had some more time. You know, I don't have a problem with the, you know, we want the passion from the community, and we want them, you know, engaging in like thoughtful, constructive discussion, because, as you know, I've talked to you a little bit about, we're definitely open to changing things to make kind of the best poker site that we can. And some of the discussion that has happened has led to some positive things already. A lot of the discussion that is, you know, simply this is never going to work, I'm out. I mean, you know, nobody has a requirement to give us constructive criticism in a thoughtful way, but yeah, that kind of stuff does not help, obviously. But yeah, people are entitled to their opinions, and it's good to hear what people think.
Is it, Phil?
Sure.
Is it good?
It is, you know, well, what's unfortunate is, you know, it's not really statistically significant, because you get a lot of posts from like specific people about specific things that they really don't like. And, you know, the people that are really excited, you hear from them maybe once or twice, maybe just once. And then the people that are in the middle or kind of like it, you don't necessarily hear from. So, you know, in general, it's good to get a feel for the community. But I mean, it'd be nice if and maybe we will, just like send out a survey. And so we could actually see how people feel. But we're going to get a lot of that through, you know, once we open and we see, you know, not only customer feedback once they're playing on the site, but also statistics and you know, data from the games. We'll see if things are happening in the way that we expected them to or not, and learn from that.
So I guess when you're deciding on what the parameters are going to be for the website, are you? Yeah, I read some discussion about trying to please the regs, trying to please the recreational players. Like, what's the mindset that you guys have going into deciding what these parameters are going to be and exactly how the ecosystem is going to be shaped?
Good question. Yeah, we really went into it trying to create for lack of a better term, the ideal games. What we thought would lead to people having the most fun, people coming back, things being fair. Fairness is always very important when coming up with decisions. And we, you know, I believe, and I had talked about this in my post, which was really long, but I did a lot of kind of like leading into, you know, policies need to work together, and, you know, basically trying to get people to open their minds to some policies they didn't expect. But as far as, I mean, we don't have a lot of recs in the company. The people that were talking about the policy decisions were in large part pros at some point. So it's kind of natural that we would consider all the concerns of pros, but we didn't necessarily set out to. We set out to do the best thing overall, because, you know, what's going to lead to the best game is going to be what's bringing people in and coming back, and specifically, you know, in some cases, bringing in the players who are losing players. And in the end, that'll be what's better for the pros. But certainly, with, you know, we know what pros want in a lot of areas, or maybe all areas almost, and so it was always considered, for sure.
So let's talk about some of the specific things that you announced. I'll start with the thing that I am the most, I have the most opinion about, I suppose, in terms of caring about, which is the fact that you decided to go with the anonymous tables. Yeah. So you mentioned you did make a very long blog post. If you guys, I suggest you guys read it. I think it's great stuff out there. The link's in the description below on my YouTube channel. It's on Phil's site. Run it once. And so anonymous table. So let's talk about the decision to anonymous versus a screen names where you know screen names, or even potentially a system where you can change screen names, which I know some sites out there have.
Yeah. So this came from a lot of these things came from a place initially of, wanting fairness and rules that we could enforce. And something that's always bothered me about other poker sites, through no fault of their own, really, is, they have rules against data mining, they have rules against multi-accounting, yet they can't really enforce them. And how do you prevent multi-accounting? How do you prevent somebody going over to their friend's house and playing on their account, at higher stakes, with a name that's known as a recreational player or something like that? You really can't. At least there's no way that I know of, if they're doing it that way. And so I really don't like rules that we can't enforce. And so I think Anonymous started there. Started from, like, the impetus for Anonymous was partially, I always have liked the idea of a system where, at the very least, you could change screen names, like the way, I don't know if they do it now. Party, a long time ago when I used to play primarily there before UIGEA, you could change screen names every so often. I don't remember how often. And I think something like that is good to account for the fact, discourage multi-accounting, or basically, take the value out of multi-accounting. But also, of course, that suffers the same concerns that you bring up, which we'll talk about. But yeah, Anonymous came from that, and came from, once we figured out how all these policies together, we felt could let us enforce a no HUD policy, which is probably the most difficult policy to enforce for a lot of sites. Yeah, once we put that all together, Anonymous had the benefits of, those two things. Basically, stops data mining, multi-accounting, and allows for a no HUD system that we think we can enforce properly. And there are the smaller things, bum hunting, things like that, just predatory behavior that hurts the experience of players that are the prey. There are benefits, a lot of side benefits, but that's where the idea came from, at least.
How are you going to feel about people that being upset about the anonymous setup out there? Because I feel like there are people in the community out there who might have wanted the screen names to be known, wanted the ability to multi-account, want the ability to bum hunt, want the ability to have data on these players. Let's be real. Let's be honest here for a second. Okay, it's Poker Life Podcast. This ain't Jimbo's podcast down the street, man. It's Poker Life Podcast. Let's be real, Phil. Let's keep it real here with the people out there. So there are people that are definitely going to be upset about this. And yeah, how are you going to feel having a discussion with some of those people that you might know?
The people who are upset because it hurts, bum hunting and data mining, I'm not so worried about. The people who are upset because, it makes it a less exploitative game or interesting game for the way they approach it, or hurts the community feel, those are definitely things that I agree with. And it's just it's a trade-off. And those are kind of the downsides that we had to accept, along with the upsides of the system. And I mean, that, like, to people that are upset about that, it's a very valid complaint. I've talked a little bit about how high stakes and tournaments are going to be different products with different policies. Actually, all three will be different in this area. But I also would like to talk to the community about figuring out ways to get a little bit of it back. Something that is not going to come out in phase one, but we've talked a lot about is some sort of leaderboard system, in a way that we good.
I got excited.
Oh, okay.
Listen, I'm in any leaderboard. I don't care what the leader. It can be leaderboard. Most times you go to the bathroom. I'm in for the leaderboard. You know what I'm saying? I love leaderboards.
So that's something we love too. Unfortunately, a lot of these things we had to cut for phase one, but that's something that I think can bring back some community feel. Just in bringing, you have the top winners, or the top number of hands put in for given stakes, whatever you want to track, like you said, whatever you want a leaderboard for. I think that's a way to bring some of that back, and maybe there are other ways that we haven't thought of to bring some of the community feel back, and that's part of talking to the community themselves.
Yeah, it's something I talked about the other day when I first heard about the announcements. Was poker and what makes poker, what makes the game special, what makes the community special. has been that ability for myself to see the players, to play with these names day in and day out for many, many years. And you build up that metagame, you build up that relationship, you build up that dynamic. And I think when you think about what separates different kinds of players between some of the best players and some of the small stakes players or some of the mid stakes players are things that develop and in terms of dynamic over a bigger sample size. And obviously anonymous, when you have a 1 to 100 or 1 to 200 at max sample size with a player, obviously all those sort of intricate things that happen on turns and happen on rivers and happen over a long period of time with a player, those all go out the window. And I guess to me, those are the things I personally find beautiful about poker. Those are the things that I find sort of what makes poker special for me compared to a lot of other games out there. But I can definitely understand why that you'd sort of have to sacrifice something, you'd choose to sacrifice that. And I think that other strategies develop over time, because I mean, you played a lot of anonymous on Ignition before. Have you played a lot on there?
I've played on there, not very much, but I've played there. And I think that's the only place I've played anonymous poker.
Yeah, I think to me, playing a lot of hands of anonymous poker, I realized that it really is a different game of Pot Limit Omaha specifically. Maybe for other variants, it's different. But when I play PLO Cash when you know the screen names compared to when you don't know the screen names, it really is a different sort of, for me, a completely different game altogether. And the strategies are different, and some are the same, some are similar, but a lot of them are different. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily good or bad. But what are kind of your thoughts just on that idea of I mean, just kind of those ideas?
Yeah, no, I mean, for anybody who watches my videos has at any point knows that I like to make reads on players, and you make those reads in large part based on history. And so myself as a player, yeah, I find the same things that you do interesting. I made this analogy in one of the threads. They didn't really like it, but I still think it's appropriate. Is a lot of times I get asked, by people who play live poker, or even people who don't play poker at all, like, when you're playing online, how do you make decisions? Because you can't see them. So are you just guessing, or is it just gambling? And obviously the answer is that it's still poker, but with different information. You could say less information, you could say more information, because you could have HUDs or data mined hands. But in reality, in terms of like things that are happening and inputs, it's just poker with less information, online versus live, and anonymous versus a system with regular screen names is still poker with less information. And so it's the elements of the game are still there, and there will be small amounts of history to build on, and you can still look into bet size tells, and there's an art to figuring out what kind of player somebody is, and an art to disguising what kind of player you are, things like that. So there are strategic elements that come in, but no doubt there's some really fun stuff that happens with screen names. And yeah, like I said, is a trade-off. And some people come in, I think a lot of people that don't help the discussion will come in and say, basically, this is really bad for this, so obviously it's the wrong decision. Have you even realized, Phil, what this does to the element in poker and community? And yes, we realize. And I wish we could have it all, but there are always going to be trade-offs with the policies you choose.
So you also mentioned in the post about these anonymous tables will be at lower stakes, but I guess at high stakes, the announcement's coming for high stakes tables, but will it not be a similar format?
Yeah, well, high stakes will be quite a bit different, and the announcement's not coming soon because it's a phase 2 feature. So for those not familiar, we're launching Run It Once in 2 phases because we want to get something out to you, but we don't. But we want the final product to be good. So if we were to wait a little bit and rush whatever tournaments and high stakes, which are not coming in phase 1, basically, long story short, this was the first blog post as well, if you feel like reading. But basically, we're launching in 2 phases. The first one is cash games, and up to to be determined amount in terms of stakes. But yeah.
Whoa. To be determined amount. What? So, are you thinking about maybe putting a cap on the stakes in terms of a public game? Maybe potentially have invitational tables at higher stakes for people that want to organize games or any sort of promotional type of game like that.
Yeah, we're going to do it based on demand and how well the games are filling at the stakes that we start with. But it's definitely it's not difficult in terms of development to just add a new stake level or change a stake level. So that's something that's easy to adjust based on feedback and data, which is certain things are very hard to adjust. And but yeah, this is one that is quite easy. And eventually, when we have phase 2, there will be cutoff where it goes from regular games with some of the policies that I've already announced to higher stakes games that have different policies. And I mean, I don't know why it needs to be a secret, but yeah, somewhere in my head, that's somewhere around 2550 is the I don't like. To me, 5100 goes in the high stakes category, and 1020 goes in the low stakes, I think. And I don't know where 2550 falls currently. Well, that's where my head's at least
Don't worry,
now.
1020 is low stakes urban out there too, Phil. Don't worry. That's
no, not well. I mean, low's the wrong word, right? Non-nosebleed.
Bang bang, boys, bang bang.
Non-nosebleed
Phil,
stakes.
alienating the customer base already. I'm kidding. 1020 is low stakes. Let's be real here, guys. Come on. You not see the other day they were playing 2K, 4K, AK on stream. Yeah, 1020. I can't even get out of bed to watch a 1020 game.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I understand what you mean. I guess you're saying that that the parameters for what's the word we're using? Parameters isn't the word. Give me what's the word? I feel like what's the word that you're using here?
I don't know. The cutoff, I guess. For
you had a word. You had a word. You used it like 7 times. I don't think I've ever heard you use the word before. So I know it's fuck. Someone tell me what his word is. He has the word. Everybody out there knows what the word is. You've been saying this word a few times. I like the word. So when you say it again, I'll get back to it. But okay, so up to 1020, and then potentially be that cutoff phase for 2550. Maybe it's I don't know. I can speculate all I want, but we're going to be policy. That's what it was. Policy, correct? Yes, policy. Yes, maybe 2050 have a different policy than the 1020 games will. So
yeah,
but yeah, I'm guessing that's coming in a future blog post.
Yeah, and but like I said, the high stakes stuff and tournament stuff, those will be not in this kind of first series of posts because those things aren't coming around the corner in the way that phase 1 is. So really, I've planned out, a handful more posts leading up to launch of phase 1.
I like that. I like this a lot. Like the you studying the Marvel. That's what Marvel does, man. They give you these phase 1 announcements, and I think World Series, you got to get on stage. I'm in. Get on stage, bring it out there. We'll get the people out there. We'll give an announcement, and you can be like, do some of those like Apple, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk sort of announcements where you're like, "What's up, guys? What's up?" And then you sort of you whip. I don't know, whatever. I'm just brainstorming here. Okay, Phil. Important question. How are we going to stop the bots, Phil? How are we going to stop these Eastern Europeans out there with their bots and with their? And I mean, not all Eastern Europeans, of course, but how are we going to stop these guys, Phil? They seem unstoppable if you look at some of the other sites out there that are infested with bots. Yeah,
I mean, bots, I think, is the biggest challenge facing the poker industry, at least the future. I mean, it's a big challenge now in the present, but certainly in the future, that is the biggest thing I see, other than maybe, legislation of some kind that could really threaten online poker. So it's something we think about a lot. We built the site with a lot of, I would say, bot deterrents or bot annoyances, not, things that like stop bots altogether. There's still going to have to be bot detection. Actually, in the higher stakes games, I think we'll have something in place that almost stops bots altogether. But we can get into that when it's high stakes time, down the road. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge for us, just like it is for every site. And we have a fraud team, and we'll do a lot of that have experience, in the industry. But yeah, we have to do a lot of the things that everybody else does, and without getting into super specifics of that, obviously there's statistical analysis, like the things that we've seen the community do, and then there are other things that you can do with with the data you have as an operator, but not as a player. But yeah, a lot of people are concerned about one policy that with our hand histories. Our current policy is we'll give the hand histories to everybody 24 hours later with their table alias, not their account name, and with whole cards showing. and people are worried that it doesn't allow the community to police the games in the same way that they can on PokerStars, where they can have, somebody they're suspicious about over time and compare stats with somebody else, things like that. It's a valid concern. I think that a lot of people's perception is that, at least on the major sites, that the sites are, catching a very small amount of bots and the community is doing a lot of it. At the bigger sites, from everything that I know, which is not, I've been told, yeah, I like the big sites are detecting most of the bots themselves, and a couple slip through and the community is doing it. At some of the smaller sites, maybe not. Maybe some are not trying.
Well,
I don't know.
I know one site, Phil, that they are not detecting the bots at, and that is the site that I know has the most cheating going on the site. Maybe even by the site itself. Phil, are you going to be? Is there going to be a security team at Run of One's Poker?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
and
you're doing farther ahead than some of the biggest sites that are offering American players right now. So that's a good thing. So I guess the idea of bots, right? When it comes to bots, is it going to be something where if you have a suspicion for accounts, obviously there's a lot of information and data you have on the back end. I think some of the people in the community are led to believe that the sites don't have this data. The sites have this data to be able to go through things. Now, whether the site and the people that work for the site know how to interpret that data or form I guess, what do you want to say, 100%? Where does the line draw in terms of how sure that you need to be before you decide to maybe get rid of some of these accounts that when you have suspicion that they might not be authentic accounts?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, I don't even know our specific. I'd have to ask our fraud team for exactly what they do and where the line is. I know that you, at some point, if you're unsure, right, you ask them, you figure out ways for them to kind of prove that they're not.
Yeah. Call them on the phone, be like, hey, Mr. Eastern European, I got the translator here right now. My man from Ukraine, Udonis over here, is going to speak to you. And then you ask them. There are many different ways, obviously, to figure this out, to speak to these people, to talk with them, to have a conversation with them, to invite them to Run of One's headquarters in lovely Malta, if that's where it's going to be headquartered at. Yep. Right? I would assume there's a lot of different ways to do this, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know exactly where we draw the line there, what criteria they have, and even actually, I haven't talked to them much about what they have in place for when an account is very suspicious, but they're not positive. I've talked about leading up to that with them, but yeah, like the stuff that the things that the community can do, we can certainly also do, and we have access to more data as well. That's not to say that's true of PokerStars, and the community's caught bot rings, on big sites like that. It's not that the site doesn't know what to do and the community does. It's that they catch a lot and this slip through the cracks for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's very easy to let the biggest winners at your stakes slip through the cracks when they're botting the great game of Pot Omaha. So I can understand how that might happen. Nonstop says the threat to poker isn't the shitty box. Debatably, the real challenge is the GTO bots, like real-time database software that guys like allegedly 40 and 7 are running. So Phil, obviously you're tuned in. I'm pretty tuned in. The real-time software get a little out of line. What's going to be the way to combat this real-time software at both Nolan Hold'em and the great game of Omaha as this software only develops and gets better and better?
Yeah, the people that when it's human controlled and player assist software, a lot of the methods for traditional bot detecting won't work, but statistical methods still do. They're still kind of playing their hands in the same way statistically, but yeah, it's a human doing it, and so it's going to look like a human doing it. Like I said, you can still catch them in that way. There are some things that you lose, but yeah, it's more of a challenge, and I think that's where it's going to head in the future more of, because as sites, well, I guess actually bots could get better at pretending they're humans as well. I don't know. I don't necessarily know which way it'll head in the future more, but yeah, it's mostly similar methods, or not mostly, I would say, but statistical comparisons between different accounts, and those tend to be the most not reliable, but that does a large portion of the work anyways. And you can still use that on them.
That's the thing the biggest thing I'm worried about is just the rise of this sort of software out there. And then the lack of, I guess, competent people in a security force who can understand these things, and then not only understand them, but then decide, all right, we're going to do something about this account and put it to a stop. And then, of course, these accounts can always just keep coming back and coming back. And now I do think this is a something that people should definitely worry about out there. But at the same time, we've seen on some other sites out there that the player pool of players willing to gamble and not necessarily make very GTO plays is pretty big. But I'm just kind of curious to see, because if you go on other sites out there, there's a lot of action out there, a lot of interesting plays going on, to say a nice word about it. And so the players are still out there. These are American sites. These are rest of the world sites. These are all sites out there. But I'm kind of curious how long these players are going to last if they're competing in a pool of players where people are, people are getting out of line. So, I mean, I guess that's just a big worry as an operator that you have in trying to, I guess, balance that out and make that work all around.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for recreational players, they're not much worse off against a bot than a good pro, or maybe in some cases they're better off. But for the bots, or where bots, do a lot better is when they're better than the pro. They hurt the pros the most. But yeah, they're I mean, a lot of the same things that, I guess not a lot, because bots are still going to play GTO. But some of the things we're doing that I haven't talked about yet, that help kind of the ecosystem, will do it if there are bots. When, I guess, I mean, I say if there, people will try to run bots on our site, like they do everywhere else. But yeah, it's up to us. And actually, to go back to this, I started talking about and stopped. We've been talking, like in the thread on Run It Once, I started talking to a couple of people who had this concern about the way we're doing hand histories, because it doesn't allow for community to catch bots as well. And making a big change right now is difficult, but we're relooking at our hand history policy as a result of that conversation. I also proposed some things. I proposed in that thread ideas along the lines of, finding community representatives who are good with, like, the community members who are, strong at statistical analysis, and the community trusts them, setting something up so that they can have access to some of our data and report back to the community. And like I said, we can do those things ourselves, but I think it would give the community more peace of mind to have these, have the community members who have caught bots in the past, checking things out with access to more data than they would have as players. But there was not much response to that. But yeah, we're open to ideas for all the things where the community helps. We're doing a lot ourselves, but it'll be up to us to, to keep them away and catch them quickly and return money to people, so that, in a perfect world, you make it minus EV, even if they're strong developers, but we'll get there. I mean, we have, obviously we don't have the size fraud team that PokerStars does, or presumably that Party Poker 888 do, but or any number of larger sites. We'll build it up as we grow. But I do feel pretty good about some of the things, some of the policies in place, some of the policies in place that I haven't talked about yet for curbing botting.
Listen, I'm ready to come in and battle these motherfuckers, Phil. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm dedicating 20. I'm locking myself in a room. I'm battling with these bots, just real-time soft people out there. I'm kidding. I'm ready. I'm ready to come in. I'm ready to come in. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, can you stop these things out there? Who knows, man? I don't really know. It's just, I have this idea in my head about what the poker world is, and about the dream of a poker player, and about the lifestyle of a poker player. And it's very romantic in my mind from all my memories I have from the 2000s, and then from my own personal experience playing and my development of my career. And I sometimes think, is that still possible in online poker in a cash game setting? And maybe it still is to some extent. It's just a little bit different, where you have to shop around, you have to pay uncapped rake on some of these Asian sites that people promote. There's always, like, it just seems like now the world and the ecosystem is so much different. And obviously that changed when PokerStars decided to go away from a model where there's the poker idea of the poker dream to the idea of I'm going to take all your guys' money and I'm going to make billions and billions of dollars for the company. And I guess for Run It Once, what's the dream to Run It Once? What's a poker? What do you think the poker player's dream is these days? Is it to win a big tournament? Is it to hit a spin and go? Is it to play a tournament and then cash out 25 minutes into it in a format like that? Like, what do you guys think is the poker player's dream?
I mean, the dream for practical purposes, the dream that we have in mind when making decisions is beatable games. It's really important that games remain beatable, and people can, if they work hard enough and are talented enough, win their game, build a bankroll, move up in stakes. I think, as a cash game player, I'm maybe biased, and that seems like the dream to me is progressing, building your bankroll, moving up in stakes until you reach the top or reach as far as you decide you want to go for whatever reason. But obviously, people have different dreams. But the important thing for making decisions is above all else, we want games to be beatable.
Well, that's good to hear. Very good to hear. And so obviously I know that you've been deeply in thought about the hand history thing and about the idea of how you do that. And so now Double Suited in the chat to the community could not have caught the UB cheating if the players were anonymous. So I kind of want to get into this, which is what you mentioned and what some players in the community mentioned of where the players are catching these bots. Now, I think that if you have an actual competent security team who have all the data that players put out there in terms of stats. So we'll use ACR as an example. So ACR, a lot of bots on there. We could argue the whole entire ecosystem's basically built up on bots. But there's been proof over time of bots existing in Pot Omaha and at Nolan Hold'em. They have the same stats. I mean, these are the dumbest bots of all time, Phil. These aren't the sharpest tools in the shed, okay? But they've been playing for millions of hands. I would argue that if you're the site, if I have the back end site, I've seen how that specific software looks in the back end. If I have access to that, all I do is got to go there. Okay, let me get some parameters. These guys got the same stats. It shouldn't take me too long as the security person to figure out, okay, let's get rid of these guys. Let's figure out a way to stop these guys. I don't necessarily think that if you have a competent security team that's actually on top of things, and you as the players trust the security team to enforce these things, I think that they should be able to catch a good amount of these things. Obviously, I might be a little naive to exactly what they can or cannot catch, but if the players and the security have the same data, but the security is always going to have more data, I don't understand why that those people wouldn't be able to catch it. But I do understand that they're not going to be able to catch every single one. But just to me, I don't know. I don't necessarily, I get where people are coming from with that one, but I think that's sort of where you put your trust into a poker site and say, well, we think you guys are going to be good enough to detect these things.
Yeah, I mean, my perception is that there are a lot of, bots or people colluding in ways that are not very smart and, easier to catch. And then there are some that do it in a way that is very smart, and those are harder to catch. But yeah, like you said, we'll have the data, more data than people have out there. Still, it's still a valid point. People in the community have stopped a lot of things because they slip through the cracks for whatever reason, even on sites where they are catching a lot of bots.
What if they stop? What if they stopped exactly where things slip through the crack? So let's go back in time here, okay? So from what I know publicly, they stopped the absolute poker because absolute poker was, I don't know what kind of brainless person decided to send an entire tournament with all the hands to someone, but they messed that up or whatever. And then UB, I mean, listen, wow, that is just the craziest situation. When I go back and research, I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe this actually happened, because I couldn't believe people kept playing on there, and it's just like it's kind of wild. So the players definitely did that with a ton of pushback from the actual site, because the site was the one cheating the actual players from that. But outside of that, so we got the PLO botting situation as well too, that the players definitely did figure out, and without the players, that would have never been caught. So just kind of think about that. Has there been something else, or is that I don't really remember anything else that the players sort of detected on their own outside of the PLO botting situation on Stars?
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were, but those are the ones that I think about. Definitely people on our team would know if there are more. But yeah, most recent, which with the PLO, mid-high stakes PLO, bot ring is the biggest that stands out to me.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm worried about them. I'm always thinking about the bots now, man. I'm always kind of You know, how do you stop them? And if you research them more, after you talk with people in the botting community, and they seem pretty confident that they ain't getting shut down. So I'm like, well, I mean, you know, it's kind of the war the sites have. I mean, do you think it could be something in the future where you have to verify? I mean, we've heard this discussed as you're an invasion of privacy. We do that. Maybe a verification system for players when they want to play certain stakes at high stakes, maybe before the session starts, where they have to do, I mean, I don't really know, you know, maybe something like that where you can actually verify that it's certain people playing or anything like that. Have you considered some things like that?
Yeah, for high stakes, without getting too much into it, we are planning to make it kind of not necessarily before every session, although we can explore something like that, but, you know, for people to play in those games, some sort of verification process of who they are and things like that. And, you know, approval process for that. But yeah, you're right to have that as your main worry about the poker world right now, the online poker world, because it's a challenge. And I think that, yeah, like you said, you know, bot makers are not going to, if they get caught, they'll just do it again. There are other sites they can try. They can try it again with the exact same bots, you know, with different accounts, or they can modify the bots so that they're not, you know, identified as the one that they were using before in some way or another. So yeah, they can keep trying in a lot of ways. And yeah, I just think over time, as things continue to change, sites need to continue to adapt, not just in detection, but in your favorite word, policies that help deter and curb botting.
So let's talk about a really cool idea that I like a lot, and that is the idea of the dynamic avatar, Phil. So you wrote about the dynamic avatar, and I really like this idea. So basically what's going to be, and I'll try to explain it, and then you can tell me if I explain it well or not, but there'll be 7 different settings for player types to start off, where as you play, you sort of have a play style, whether it's like a crazy guy or a loose guy or a tight guy, Randy the Rock, tight Tony, maybe fun player Frank, or maybe loose cannon Larry, something like that. And those guys will have I don't know exactly what the faces will look like, but depending on what the player that they've interacted with at the table has seen over that time, that will show one thing to one person, one thing to a different person. And then the player then sees something. I don't exactly know what the player sees for themselves. I couldn't quite figure that part out, because if it's different for everyone else, then what do they see? But yeah, let's just talk a little bit more about this dynamic avatar system, which is very new. I don't think I've ever seen this done anywhere before. And also, it's a way to have a HUD, but without having a HUD, in that you get information about players. And yeah, it just sounds like a really fun idea to me.
Thank you. I think so too. We were excited when we came up with it. It's the purpose of it, other than it being kind of fun, is to give people, you know, the majority of the information that they would get with a HUD anyways, as part of, you know, so now if somebody wants to break our terms and use a HUD, first, the games are anonymous, so their stats don't have as much value because of that, because they're, you know, tiny sample sizes that can't be trusted for things more than, I mean, even like 30 hands can't be trusted for too much. Once you get up to 100 or something, you know, VPIP and PFR and things like that, you know, can become more reliable. And that's why our dynamic avatars take into account VPIP, PFR, and 3-bet. But yeah, the idea is to make HUDs as, you know, I'm trying to find the word for the opposite of anyways, to make them less valuable. I'm trying to find the opposite of valuable. What's the word for that?
The opposite of valuable?
Yeah.
Trash?
Sure. Make them right?
Not valuable?
Yeah. I notice when I don't sleep as much, I lose synonyms. Like I just lose words. That's the first thing that goes. But yeah, basically taking away most of the value from HUDs, so that if somebody wants to try to get away with it, they're not gaining very much at all. Right. And then to catch them, and you know, even if you don't catch 100% of them, if hypothetically, let's say you're catching them at a rate of 30%, and you know, whatever, banning or confiscating money and distributing it to their opponents, whatever it is, you know, you make it not worth trying in the first place. So that's where the idea came from. I know that's not the fun part of the discussion, but yeah, we wanted to provide that information not only to to players who otherwise would use HUDs, but also to players that don't know about HUDs, just to look across the table, see what kind of player they're playing against. Obviously a lot of it is going to be for the same reason that stats, it's going to be unreliable over small samples. It'll be slightly more likely that it's representing somebody or representing a play style that is what that person's playing. But certainly, people don't want to over adjust to it. But even if it's unreliable, most of the time or some of the time, it's still fun, I think, for players to have something extra to think about, and the makeup of their table, things like that. It is so. Actually, we got a suggestion recently that I did like, but it's not what we're doing, and it doesn't really work. But for different characters or animals, even for the different categories, what we're doing is changing. You choose your own avatar that you see, and we assign everybody else like a character, but we're just changing their facial expression or different things about them. So we're not changing from the loose guy to the whatever, to the tight crocodile, whatever it is. We're just we're changing the expression. And so some of the feedback, there's a lot of positive feedback, really positive feedback for dynamic avatars. Some of the negative feedback was that they think some of the expressions are too negative, and like seeing, because I didn't answer your question. What you see for yourself, what you see for your opponent is hands you've played together at that table, and it's going to be like the same data that you'd have on them if you used a HUD, basically, or not basically, exactly. For yourself, it'll be similar. It's the hands that you've played on that table, all of them, is what you'll see for yourself. So what will inform the expression or put the player in that category or put you in that category that you see for yourself. I didn't explain it well, but did it end up making sense?
I mean, it kind of makes sense, but I'm a little confused. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, if you use a HUD,
okay. I'm kidding. It makes sense to me. So each player, it definitely makes sense to me. So, but I guess I'm thinking about the player experience here. I'm thinking about we sit down, we play poker, a little fucking boring sometimes. We're sitting there, and one of the biggest things I like about a site like Ignition, I'm saying this like the smallest thing, but it starts raining money on you when you win a big pot or when you make quads as lightning, and then fire when you make something else. I mean, I don't know. I love that kind of stuff. Like, I'm a simple man, maybe not, but I love those kind of things, that these little small things that just increase the fun, increase the player experience, increase the viewer experience at home. If you're watching a Twitch stream and someone wins a big pot and there's fire and the rain starts, or obviously, like I told you when we were texting the other day about this, like there's different a lot of esports games, they have these avatars that you can customize that don't give you any sort of benefit in playing the game, but they just enhance the experience you have. You get to customize it a little bit. You get to have a little more fun with things. And do you ever anticipate doing something like that with your avatar system? Because I think that's one easy thing that a site can control that just makes things more enjoyable for everyone out there. It's goofy, but it's fun, man. I think poker can get boring a little bit sometimes too, and that offsets it with just a little bit of excitement. Yeah,
we talked a lot about something similar to what you're talking about for let's say like things along the lines of accessories for your avatar. Those conversations and we really like it and we really want to do it, those had to be put on hold because they're going to be, basically when we have all these development tasks, we have to prioritize them, and so it's not going to be in phase one, and something like that, we have to decide, okay, are we going to focus, do we want to take all that energy on development, time, and focus it on getting tournaments out sooner? Or do we want to split the time on both of those, get them both a little? So yeah, we have to, like, it's really unfortunate. It's really frustrating for me because we just have so many ideas that we can't act on yet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, that's something that we would do. We do not have the. I like it too, what you're talking about, the stuff on Ignition with the lightning and things like that. We don't have that. We have something that I think you'll like, that adds some fun, it's not time yet.
Tell me what you can do to dab. Tell me I can dab on someone when I stack them, please. Please. Listen, I love Fortnite. I love this game. It's making hundreds of millions of dollars, man. It's taking over the world. So I'm looking at every element of what makes Fortnite special. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, how can you bring these things to everywhere else? Because a lot of these characteristics and traits that make things popular or make things fun, they apply to other things out there too. So I don't understand why a lot of these things can't be for poker or for anything else, really.
I agree completely. Yeah, we have so many things that we want to do that I'm really, really excited about. And many along the lines of what you're talking about. We'll have one especially, well, other than what we talked about so far, one, I think, very cool element that makes the game more fun in phase one. And then another that's kind of similar that will be not at launch, but will be before phase two. But so like phase 1.5. I mean, basically still in phase one, but a little later. But yeah, I completely agree that, there's no reason that stuff is that for things that are really fun in other games that they wouldn't be in poker. Absolutely.
Nonstop says a comment, and I can tell that Nonstop is still playing. Shout out to Nonstop out there. He plays a lot of, I don't know if he's still playing right now. Like, he played a lot of Six Max and Heads Up before. And I think Stars got rid of Heads Up, though, so I don't know what he's playing now. He said, HUDs aren't valuable if you're playing against the GTO database solution. This is how most/all opponents will be at 510 plus within 1 to 2 years. HUDs are a secondary issue. I don't think Phil is up to date with how big of a challenge this is to the longevity of any poker site. Stars realizes it. That's why they are money grabbing. Well, maybe not. They don't care about their long-term reputation because they don't see a long-term for poker.
I mean, I agree, but I disagree that, like, I've already said that bots are the biggest threat. I don't know the wording I use to the future of online poker, and yeah, that's the most important thing. So I mean, I agree completely, but I don't agree with me not seeing that.
I think. I mean, yeah. We've already kind of talked about that one, but that's a comment that, I mean, I definitely understand where he's coming from. I feel the worry in his voice because I see what's happening out here in the poker world from talking with the people who are creating this software, talking from the players who are using this software, talking with operators of other sites and security people and marketing people, and kind of getting their feedback. So I feel his worry, and I have the exact same worry he does too. Like how worried he is, I am very worried about this kind of stuff too, because it can, that might kill. It could kill a certain level of poker as we know it, and then it becomes,
I guess he probably, he probably also means, why are we focusing energy on something like HUDs when, in the long term there'll be a smaller threat, or even currently maybe, smaller threat to the quality of the games. But I still think HUDs, I don't think HUDs are a bad thing. I've said this in the threads, but we haven't really talked about it. I think HUDs are great. I think, and tracker analysis, studying and learning the game that way, I think it's awesome. That's, how I do a good bit of my learning. And a lot of people do as well. I mean, obviously you could, maybe not obviously, you can still use a tracker on Run It Once. You could still, the hands that we're sending you can put into a tracker and do all that. But I don't have a problem with HUDs themselves or with sites that allow HUDs. I think a lot of the sites that do allow HUDs should allow HUDs because they don't have the policies in place that we have to remove a lot of the value of them. And then they won't catch enough people to make it an enforceable rule, really. But yeah, to his point, which I think is, why are we focusing on that when the bigger problem is bots? I mean, we should be doing everything we can on everything. We're focusing on as much as we can, and some of our some of our features and the things we're doing that you'll see at launch, and I'll talk about later also, are, like I said, deter bot makers.
Brian said, it looks like Galfond told Joey ahead of time what he wants to talk about on today's podcast, hence why he isn't asking about Rake. Yes, Brian. Phil messaged me and he said, hey, I'm going to give you $100. Can we talk about this? I don't want you asking me some tough fucking questions about topics that I don't want to discuss right now. Yes, Brian, you figured it out. That is true. There is some payola system happening here. As you know, I'm the kind of guy that really likes doing that all the time. No, I'm kidding. Actually, no, it didn't happen this time, but maybe in the future, you never know. Phil, what's going on with Rake? We haven't announced Rake on there is Phil Galfond and Run It Once still against the policy that more rake is better for the players?
Yes, very much against that stance. I mean, although, well, whatever. Nobody's right now saying that that's their stance, but if they were, I'd be against it. I think, yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about the policies that I announced, and I'm saving a lot of our other. I'm saving the more announcements. I'm saving this for future announcements. And rake and rewards together are probably going to be the second to last post that I'll make. As there's kind of some, I don't know, basically kind of structured them to start with some more like innovative, exciting things and end with some more innovative, exciting things. Mm-hmm. You want to start strong and end strong. And that's an area that I think will kind of end strong with. So I'm saving that. And yeah, there are a lot of things that I can't talk about because I really want to, with every decision we make, I want the opportunity to explain it fully and, why we made that decision and what we think the benefits are, what the downsides may be.
That's why I didn't ask about it, Brian, just for future reference, because I know Phil's going to be doing more blog posts in the future and in the future episodes in his blog. And when he makes these announcements, of course, he's going to discuss rake because why wouldn't he? So I was going to wait to ask that for down the road when he decides to put that one out there. So Brian, a little behind the scenes. We're just taking him through it, Phil. It's like a training video here for Brian. If he ever decides he's going to do a conversation interview with someone out there, he kind of has the details and the behind the scenes. So, but I guess, Phil, would you say you're currently the biggest ambassador for Run It Once Poker, sort of like the face or the personality?
Yeah.
The site?
Yeah, for sure.
So you, as the biggest ambassador for the site, do you also support the Fuck the Regs movement that PokerStars and their biggest ambassador has decided to take on?
I don't want to jump on Daniel.
I think it's a fair question to me. I think it's a fair question. I think we want to know for a site out there if the person who's the biggest ambassador for the site is saying fuck the regular players in there who are the regulars, support the site, and we would consider professional poker players.
Yeah, well, a difference, between me and Daniel is that, he's hired by PokerStars. They're a very large company and have a lot of, things that they have to go through. On Run It Once, I have final say. So we're not going to have a policy that I don't like that I have to explain because I would just change it if I don't like it. So it's different in that way. And, having been a professional poker player for a lot of my life at this point, my whole adult life, basically. I would never, I never want poker to be, and this goes back to, kind of a core principle or the dream in its simplest form is beatable games. And rake plays a very big part in that for sure.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I mean, I felt like I knew the answer, Phil, but I got to make sure. Listen, I can't take it no more in poker world, man. It's crazy. Some of these sites, they got me sending money to a Chinese agent in fucking Shanghai, Phil, to play on some of these sites with these guys who don't know what they're doing, and they take $10 out of pot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're just looking for we're looking for something out there. We're just looking for a way to go, a site to play where like maybe they're paying attention to the games and like maybe they care about letting some players win. Just like, I mean, they're not only concerned about just this making the billions of dollars that they possibly can, because I think that if you put out a good product, that money's going to come. You're going to make that money as the site operator. And I don't understand why all these sites are so, I mean, I guess not all, but a lot of sites are so geared towards raking the shit out of the games. It just, I don't know, man. I feel like that's how poker got built up to what it was, because there were great players like yourself and like many others out there who grinded up from the small stakes, became personalities in the poker world, became great and experts and masters at the game, and then spread the game of poker to everyone out there around the world. And if it's not possible to do that anymore, well, then who's going to carry poker along in the future, and who's going to be able to come up and do that? Those are the kind of things I think about all the time. I think a lot of players out there feel the same, and they sort of just want this hope and knowing that potential could still be possible. Oh yeah. I mean, it has to be possible to climb up the stakes and go from the smallest to the biggest. It's a really important part of the poker dream, and it's definitely the cash game poker dream.
but yeah, the main thing to reassure people that are worried is that, like I said, yeah, I and the team and I are making the decisions, and I do have final say, and we certainly won't please everybody with the decisions we make. We might come up with a decision that you disagree with, but we're definitely making them all with the health of the games, with the dream in mind. And if we do get something wrong, we can figure it out later as well. We'll get a lot more data once we start spreading games, and like I think I said earlier, but yeah, like basically see if things are working the way that we expected them to, and adjust from there. So yeah, definitely we care a lot about that. I mean, it was basically, the reason that we started Run Owens Poker, that I wanted to build a poker site, is because I think this was, I don't actually remember which Amaya change this was after, but they made some change probably a couple years ago, maybe a little more, that indicated to me that basically I felt that they were moving towards not caring about the games being beatable. And I'm still, and I should say, I don't think that I don't think they're necessarily evil. I think that, and I don't think they're actually necessarily going in a bad direction for them. With games that are more, they can have games that are exciting and quick and not beatable, and that, like, people like blackjack, so people still might like that. They still might have a successful business running a lot of games like that. It's not what I think poker is. Not what I want to do with poker. But yeah, they're allowed to do that, I think. But yeah, it was really important to me that I was very worried about the future of online poker if sites were not caring about, keeping in mind the fact that it needs to be a beatable game, and that dream needs to stay alive. Fortunately, since then, Party Poker's made a lot of changes, as you know, of course, that are showing, like, it's clear to me that they care about that, which is, I guess you could say, is bad for us to not be the only site that cares about that, but it's good for poker. So I'm happy to see them make those changes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very excited to kind of see exactly what Party Poker decides to keep doing here too. And yeah, I've been enjoying the changes and the message that they're putting out there publicly. And yes, people in chat are asking about, do you talk about VPNs yet? VPN. So is it no US players? Can people from the States VPN on there? What's sort of the thing about that? What's the stance on that?
Similar to
I'm sorry, that's a great question. It's a fair question. I worded it in a way that made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll have similar policy to Stars. We'll operate in a fewer areas than they are, because they have their, like, .it and .es or whatever else. But we won't have those. There are a couple smaller countries or areas that require you to get an individual license for them. We have a license. We have an MGA license, which is Malta Gaming Authority. We have a UKGC license, which is in the UK, and that will allow us to operate in most of the places that Stars and Party operate in. But yeah, the US is not included. And we have a list in the first thread, maybe in the second thread as well, of the countries that currently are not allowed. We're not allowed to operate in, but it changes all the time. But yeah, you can't play from the US. I wish that you could. Obviously, I wish everybody could play, and eventually, I hope that it's heading in that direction for the US, and I think that it is. Maybe not with rest of world. They might just have to play amongst themselves or ourselves.
Wow, that sounds awful. Oof. Not all Americans.
Well, no. Yeah. But but yeah, we'll see where it heads in the future.
How possible do you think it is to stop people that might be VPNing, that might be playing from countries that are not allowed? I guess you could say.
My understanding is kind of similar to that. There are some people that do it in a dumb way, and it's quite easy to catch them. And there are others that I think they're. I mean, I'm not super technical, but my understanding is that there are likely ways to do it that are not traceable, by any method that, so I assume that it's possible. We're certainly going to try to stop it where we can, because we have to.
Have you read the case that just recently was public about a lawsuit Gordon Vayo filed against PokerStars, where he alleges that PokerStars was withholding 700,000 United States dollars, and filed a lawsuit in the court in America? And the Stars claims that Gordon could not provide indisputable proof that he was not out of the he wasn't out of the United States when he had a big score for 700,000. Therefore, they're not going to pay him. So, have you seen anything from that at all?
I read one. I think there maybe were a couple articles. I basically skimmed it. So I know about it, but I don't know all the details, and I don't know exactly. Yeah, I basically know what you said. Certainly, if that's what they're saying, that they have to have a better reason. They have to have like strong reasons to be extremely suspicious, or maybe even to be almost sure. But I would never say, because the onus of proof is not on the player in a case like that. I would think, you have to, I mean, it's not a courtroom, but you need to be, before you take somebody's winnings away from them, you need to be very sure that they were, breaking the rules. But yeah, not knowing what PokerStars knows about the situation, it's hard to say whether we would have done the same thing or not, because I don't know what they know.
A very interesting case here. I don't it doesn't make much sense to me, because Gordon, obviously, if he's filing a lawsuit for that amount of money, maybe he thinks like, what does he have to lose besides the money it costs to do that? Maybe if there's anyone backing him for anything, maybe, maybe some of the backers are like insisting that he takes this route, and they're deciding to pay for it or whatever. I don't know, very weird situation, because it's the first. I mean, I've heard of situations happening in the past with large amounts of money like this at some final tables before, but I guess I haven't really read too much publicly about the tournament world, because I don't pay attention much to it. But this is kind of the first thing we've seen where it's an actual lawsuit filed, and I don't even know how that works when PokerStars is in a different country and all that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's kind of
it's really interesting.
Exactly where it goes from here.
Yeah, me neither. It's really interesting, and they're definitely could very well see it. I mean, I could even see it if they could prove, or nearly prove, that he was breaking the rules, that he might, still have a case, or be in the eyes of the court. I don't know how it works either, but yeah, it's really interesting, and yeah, it's always going to be an interesting topic, because it's, in a lot of cases, you're not going to be 100% sure one way or the other.
Be interested to follow that, guys. Let's get some questions. I'm trying to keep the topics to the topics that Phil discussed in his latest blog, and then as he releases more information, we'll talk more about exactly some of the things he has. So we get a lot of standard questions about rake and about rewards and stuff like that, but we'll get into those sort of as more and more is revealed, because obviously Phil right now, he's still figuring things out, and he'll be releasing things over time. And just got to be patient a little bit out there, guys. You got to be patient and not lose all your money before Run Once Poker kind of gets going here.
If there's any question, like, you can always throw a question. You can throw any question at me, but yeah, in a lot of those cases, my answer might be wait till the announcement. But if you're not sure, you can still feel free to throw it at me.
Someone said, will there be mixed games? Bob John, what up, Bob John?
Yeah, at launch in phase 1, we'll just have no limit and PLO. So, okay. But yes, eventually, definitely.
Any word on Zoom?
That's actually, we haven't talked about that. I don't know if I necessarily, I guess I could answer. I don't really see a reason, because there's not like it's not there. It doesn't require a big long post to explain our decision. Basically, when you're a new site and you need to have enough liquidity, you can't splitting your player pool is just a big mistake. And we did talk about actually having like a weird system where it was, let's say non-Zoom at 10:20 and then Zoom at 5:10 and then non-Zoom at 2:05 or whatever it is. But we ended up we're not going to have Zoom at launch. Eventually, if and when we grow, large enough to support having different variants of the same game, then yeah, we would plan to add it at that point. But in phase one, there will be no Zoom because we didn't want to split our player pool. And yeah.
WibCW, is it true that there is little financial incentive for operators / sites to run nosebleed games? Just run it once, seek to host Rail Heaven.
I can say, yeah, sites I think lose money directly off of those games, but indirectly they're invaluable.
Right.
Indirectly they help so much, and so I view the high stakes games as a marketing expense for a poker site. And so yeah, our high stakes offering when we get there in phase 2 will be built like a Rail Heaven. Philosophically, yes. It won't be identical to the way that was, but yeah, we believe in that very, very much as a marketing tool, and example of the poker dream and thing that people come to your site to see.
I agree, man. I love those I just find railing those high stakes games, even now when they pop off a little bit and you got some names of players that in there. And I mean, those are one of the things I enjoy the most. I spent hours and hours railing those games back in the day, full tilt games when Isildur's going battle or when some of the other games are going on out there. So
yeah, I mean, it has been talked about, and it's, I think, yeah, some players don't believe it. That's like, no, of course they make money on those games. I think they, from what I understand, they don't, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point of those games for an operator.
People keep asking about straddles, and I have no idea why. Straddle is going to be allowed. Can we straddle? Please, no button straddle. Fuck's sake.
Oh, button straddle is awful. No straddling. Okay. It's definitely something I would consider. Like a lot of these things, there are a lot of things like that where we didn't even have the discussion yet because we know we don't want to add, like, we at some point made a cutoff and we were like, this is what's going to be in our MVP, in our phase 1 launch. And we're not going to add anything to that. And so there are some things like straddles is a good example. Not a very, I think, very important one, but is a good example of something that we just stopped talking about, things like that for the time being, because we're not going to get them in now anyways. And but yeah, I'd be very open to well, I'm definitely, we'll be exploring ideas along those lines or just similar, game enhancements, I guess. But yeah, not at launch.
We got to take off the jacket now. Hold on a second. I'm gonna take this jacket off. I'm getting. This is too much of the sport coat here. My kind of thing. I really like the rock that they have, where in PLO when you win the hand previous, then you get to be the straddle the next hand. I really like that one. It kind of changes it up, makes the game a little bit different, and that's probably my favorite variant of playing with the straddle that I've played so far. Not the Rio straddle version where they straddle like $175 million on the button. I guess it's not a bad thing, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, no, button straddles are bad for the game. I never understood, because I've never played in a game with rock. But it was in the last year sometime somebody asked me for their friend about, proper strategy as it relates to that. It's actually not as straightforward. It's not very straightforward. But yeah, I think it's, if that would be one of the better ways to allow straddles for sure.
Well, I gotta ask my master coach, Sasha. Sasha, you got a question for Phil? You want to ask Phil a question? You got one on. Sasha, been listening to the other room, guys. You guys know Sasha out there. Been on the show a couple times. The PLO Beast, aka Mrs. Oh my God, hello.
Hi, Phil.
You got dressed up today, man. You look beautiful. Hello.
Well, I gotta match up to you, right?
Yeah, put your jacket back on, Joey.
Oh yeah,
nice to see you again. Yeah.
Matching.
You look really underdressed now.
Bringing it down. I'm bringing it down. Hold on a second. Okay, Sasha, give your question.
All right. Well, my question wouldn't be on online poker. So as we know, you're married to a high stakes cash-in player as well. So my question would be more like, how does that work? Do you think poker has a good or bad impact on your married life?
Overall, good for sure. It's always good to have somebody who understands what you go through as a poker player. It's a lot easier to talk about your day, or for somebody to empathize, them to empathize with you. I mean, Farrah played. She always played as a hobby, but did not become a high stakes player until after we met. It's it's good. We actually don't talk about hands all that often, or talk about strategy all that often. I don't. She likes to learn by playing, but yeah, we still.
Bang
I
bang.
need to meet her.
What's that?
Bang bang. Dang,
Yeah.
Phil, hope you can watch this, bro.
So were you the one who trained her or kind of coached her?
I mean, definitely have given her pointers over time, and have a couple times, only a handful of times, sat down and like had a lesson or talked about a concept. But yeah, I don't know, lesson,
So what's
right?
her reaction when you try to talk to her about hands, or if you try to tell her you're doing this wrong, what's her reaction?
She's gotten a little bit better recently. I think she, you know what, she at the beginning didn't like to talk about hands with me. I think that she was worried I would be judging her, but I think I've done a good enough job now of, and
Yes.
actually, yeah,
Yes.
similar, yeah. But actually I do kind of a bad. I think I do still not a great job, because I very much want to point out a mistake so that she'll learn, and so she'll tell me a hand, and I will like harp on a point, like, and I'm kind of, my dad was always a very annoying teacher, and I realized that I'm the same. So like he would always, if he was trying to teach me something, sit me down, and he would do it in the way that he would ask questions, and it'd be a very slow process, and he'd be like, so why do you think that's the way? And I would explain it, and he'd be like, no. Yeah, he would like, and that's the same thing that I do, is I say, sure, the hand was played fine, but why did you raise the flop? What were your reasons? And then I say, no, that's a really bad reason. That's not a reason that you should raise the flop. So I get kind of
And then what happens, Phil? Be honest. Then what happens when you tell her that?
She never really gets
Okay.
mad. She never gets mad at me. She she gets less interested in talking about it. She's like, yeah, okay, I got it.
This
Yeah.
is funny, Sasha, because me and Phil were just talking about this yesterday, and when we were talking, I was asking him about the same question. Funny you should ask these questions too. Is that your question? That what you have?
Yeah, I heard that. I heard your conversation. So
Is that the one you have? Is that the question? Perfect.
yeah.
No online poker. Anything about Reddit One's poker?
Well, I'm gonna let you guys talk about online poker, because that's not online. Is not my specialty. So, but
Well, what about you, Sasha, talking hands with Joey? Do you talk a lot of hands with Joey? Do you enjoy it?
I've never been right in my life, Phil. I've never been right in my life, Phil.
Talking hands. Yeah.
Phil,
I
listen.
think we're
Let
getting
me ask you a
better. I think
question.
we're
Let me ask you a
better.
question, Phil. Is Queen 886 ever a raise in the small blind? Any circumstance. I mean,
that wasn't that. That was.
I'm just asking Phil a question.
That was not.
I'm just asking Phil. I just want to ask Phil one question. Is raising Queen 688?
As you can probably see, Phil, we disagree on a few things.
Come on, man. Listen,
I think we're.
Tell you what,
better.
we'll go over the hand with Phil. Okay, and if Phil tells me you made a good play, I just calm down. If Phil tells me you made a good play with that, I'll never question play again. Okay, we'll do it. We'll tell him afterwards. So. But yeah, she's great with me, Phil. She listens to everything I say. Anytime I give her a suggestion or feedback or a way to make more money at playing poker, she's always very receptive and open and agrees with everything I have to say. And then take that and then just go the exact opposite of what I said, and then you're gonna have Sasha talking poker with me. So
for the most part, I enjoy talking hands and poker with Joey, but he always says I've listened to very much more than him.
He says the same things I say.
What?
We say the exact same things.
What?
Barry and me. We say the same things to you. You just listen to him. You don't listen to me.
I do listen to them both, but he's biased. But
it's definitely
we try to. Yeah, it was fun. It's always good to talk to someone who also loves PLO and also plays a lot of PLO. Well, Joey doesn't play as much as I do now, but he played a lot of PLO, so it was great. I haven't really met a lot of PLO players, and especially with Joey, he has so much experience and background playing online PLO, and I feel like what?
Nothing. I don't know where you're going with it.
What?
I'm listening. I'm just listening.
I'm saying
listening.
I think it's great. And you always say I don't. He always say I don't listen to him, but which is not true. I really enjoy talking poker with him.
That's what my wife says as well. Is that I always say that she doesn't talk hands with me and doesn't learn from me, but she learns. But she does.
Right.
Yeah,
So gotta trust her. I'm sure she enjoys it too. But just yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's always interests me how that works. So have you had a period of time where you're both going through going through downswings or like going through a hard time in poker, and how do you cope with that?
We haven't. We've definitely each had downswings. I don't know if they coincided. I don't think we both did at the same time.
Who takes it better?
Probably me, but not. I mean, Farrah is really, really even keeled, but she's never like played poker professionally, so she's never dealt with big downswings.
Now, right?
Now she does, yeah. But like part of dealing with downswings is just having gone through 40 buy-in downswings and 20 buy-in downswings a number of times, and just you kind of get used to it, and you eventually learn that it doesn't mean you can't win. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean you're playing badly, and it just is supposed to happen sometimes. So part of it is that I would imagine that it's a lot harder when you're both going through a downswing at the same time, because I don't know, with anything like in a relationship, if you're dealing with something personally, then it's harder to be empathetic and listen, like help the other person out. So I'd imagine, downswings at the same time are tough, and you need to be conscious of that.
All right, I'll let you get back to talking with Joey. I have one last question. Would you ever encourage Farrah to play tournaments?
No, she used to mostly play tournaments. She really still really likes them, and she actually wanted to. But the thing is, she's been getting a seat in a very good game, and her EV is just much higher there by like a long shot than in tournaments, I think. And tournaments take a long time, So in the past, whatever she wanted to play, but currently, no, I don't want her to play tournaments.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Don't cry.
All right. Thank you, Phil. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sasha. See you soon. Adios. All right, guys, that was Sasha came in here for a couple questions. I like her questions, man. I think she touched on, people in the chat are saying, oh my God, we don't want to hear about the relationship stuff. But this is the kind of stuff that me and Phil, as we get old and we're turning into old men, that we got to ask about. You know what I'm saying? Like Sasha asked the questions, like she all wants to know the answer to those questions very well, because she's thinking about those and trying to figure those out for herself too. And, she's trying to make it in the poker world as well, and dealing with going through downswings. And she comes to me and she says these things, and she's like, oh my God, I lose. And I'm like, it happens, you run bad, you get in with double suited aces, like it's, what I'm saying? So
I think maybe it's because you and I, probably more you than me, have heard or been a part of so many interviews that are just strategy talk or the same kind of things. I think the like life as a pro rather than the actual on the table stuff is it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's the stuff I find the most fascinating as well. I think that we probably find the strategy on the table fascinating for a couple of years, and then eventually we move on with that, and then you find the other elements that go into making up a poker player and making up a poker player's mindset or a person's mindset. I think we start to find those a little bit more interesting, and you start to realize how much those things can benefit you at the table as well when you're just kind of combining the theory and the strategy with all these other things about discipline and being consistent, being hardworking, and recovering from downswings. And I mean, you can kind of go on and on forever, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's, I notice it more live than online, but it's just very easy to not be on your A game. And anything that leads to you being on your A game more often, or B game more often than D game. It's very important.
How much do you miss playing poker, Phil? Because I know you're not playing too much. And I know, as a man who loves poker and a man that loves the great game of Potman Omaha, Phil, you've got to be missing the great game.
I missed it a lot, man. It's pretty sad for me to not play. I mean, I a couple of years ago is when I started spending a lot more time on the business. Run it once training has been around, I don't know, maybe almost 6 years, maybe it's 5.5 years, I don't know. But in the early days there, for most of it, I didn't do very much in the day to day. I made videos, I made the kind of like big decisions, I reviewed every potential pros demo. But beyond that, I wasn't doing very much. And so I was still a full-time poker player. And in the last couple of years, given that we've taken on more, I've just had to, be a part of more and more. And I enjoy it in a different way. But yeah, I miss poker. And at first I was playing some and working some, and it doesn't work very well for me because I'm obsessive and I prefer to just focus on one thing. And, playing, especially when it's like with live poker, there's a game that I played a lot in over the last, not this last year so much, but the years prior, that would come to town occasionally. It would only run occasionally, and like not playing poker at all for a couple months and then playing for 2 days, it's tough. Like it takes you a little while to get into it, and then it actually makes downswings a lot harder because it's just you haven't been dealing with variance at all. And you're not going to get it back in the next month because you're not going to play at all. So yeah, I found that very difficult, and so I kind of made the conscious decision recently to just do this. I think I have had times where I take a 2-week or a 3-week period, let's say during Scoop, and just play poker, and during the World Series do something like that where I just play poker. Obviously, I do a little bit. Otherwise, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it this summer. Because so much is going on, and because we're planning to launch this summer, so I don't think I can just disappear.
Wait, what did you say?
We're planning to launch summer 2018. That was announced.
Huh?
But it's
What?
Phase
I didn't know
1.
that.
Really?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
When was this announced, Phil? I don't recall this being announced. When did you say this?
Yeah, it was. So the post that we're talking about today is the second post that I made on runonce.eu. The first post talked about our plans to launch in 2 phases, and that the first one was coming this summer.
Yeah, I've been, when you say dates, Phil, I'm wide open with those. Summer 18, you might be summer 19. I don't know. I'm keeping it open. People ask me when's the run at once coming. I go, it's coming. It's coming, baby. I don't know when. 2019 is coming. So wait. So you're saying, yeah? Someone said I don't remember this actually being announced. I have not talked to anyone about this. No one's said this to me either. So this might be the announcement. I'm telling you, I haven't heard this. I haven't heard this discussed. So the summer in 2018. What month we thinking? We thinking July? We thinking August? What are we thinking?
We're currently leaving that open because of it's difficult to know. It's difficult to know. Yeah, I've noticed that I've kind of made the mistake a lot of times when I'm discussing things of assuming that people have read everything that I wrote. I don't actively assume that, but I just know what I've talked about before. But yeah, I've talked about things in those posts. I've talked about things in forum threads on Run It Once, and now a couple on 2+2 even. But yeah, I need to do a better job, I think, of announcing things across all platforms where people listen to me. But yeah, we're planning to launch this summer. It's definitely not going to be this month, I can tell you that. But things still appear to be on track for that. I announced it, I don't know, I want to say 3 weeks ago or something. Nothing has really changed since then, so I still feel pretty good about it. I wanted to wait, like you said, the last time that I announced the launch date was a long time ago, and the date that I announced was for a long time ago as well. So,
slightly a little off that original date. It happens. You're an ambitious man, Phil. Listen, I can't hold. I'm not holding that against you. You throw out a date, a little ambitious date, and turns out a couple more things you need to do. So it's okay.
I missed by a little bit. Yeah, I missed by a little bit. So I waited this time to announce another date until I was feeling much better, and I've been playing on the software for a long time now. I've done a lot of testing, and
whoa. Wait a second. How does a man get an invite to the software, Phil? How does a man get to test out the software too? Listen, I'm here for beta. I'm here to play. Give me the screen name Poppy. Give me the screen name Poppy. I'm in, man. I'm ready to play. Give me the little Poppy avatar on there. Something like. You're gonna be custom avatars. Can there be?
Not custom. No, you're gonna pick from kind of like Full Tilt. You'll pick from.
But they could do custom. Remember, you get enough points. You get to send that in. They do a custom one of you.
Yeah, I actually like that idea. It was a lot of points on Full Tilt.
Yeah, let's make it a little less points. They were ripping you off with that amount of points in there. But
no, it's not that hard to get a custom one. Like, yeah, we won't charge that much if and when we add that. But yeah, it we have a beta testing sign up on run-it-once.eu to be on the list. It's right now. We're not inviting very many people. We've had basically had like 2 scheduled tests so far with a group of testers that, because we've done a ton of testing with people within the company, but we've had 2 scheduled tests with people not in the company. You have to travel outside of the US if you wanted to be a part of one of those. But we haven't opened, like we want to get a lot of people in and gradually build up, but it's not. The thing that I really don't want is for people to test in a way that like test before certain things are fixed. There are just a few things that hurt the experience so much that I don't want it to color their kind of, confidence in the software. Because like once you get in and you even if it's during beta testing, if you get in and see, I don't know, something really bad happen, like one thing that one of the biggest things that we're like trying to stop is there are a couple of edge cases where it just puts the blinds out wrong. And that, for example, like we can definitely fix it. But I think for a lot of players, if they come in and they see that, they lose confidence like in the software, and that kind of like sticks in their mind. Right. And so there are a couple things like that I want to wait until they're fixed before we open the doors. Because I don't want people's first experience to be a bad one.
Yeah, I definitely can understand that. Obviously, a lot of things are early access out there now, and there's always bugs with early access. But I can understand that if a new player was to test this out and went through that, it might leave them with that bad taste. But I guess that's kind of where the finished product and where the marketing and where the content being put out there and where the advertising being put out there, I guess that's what starts really mattering then, and that's how you sort of can bring in that player back and bring in more players. And I guess kind of have an idea in terms of who I think is doing really good marketing right now, global poker in the United States. Now, I'm not saying playing global poker, guys. I don't know I've looked into the legality of this. Apparently, they have the way that they do it with the sweepstakes is legal for now. I mean, we'll see what happens exactly with that. But I think they do the best job of marketing on social media that I've seen so far on Instagram and on Facebook. And I mean, they bring in so many players, I feel like, through these ads, and the engagement they get on these ads on those platforms is really, really big. And I feel like if any site out there isn't just emulating these sorts of videos or these sorts of little ideas, like they're kind of dumb, I guess, when it comes to the idea of marketing. And do you guys plan on, well, I guess I know you're probably gonna say yes now, but do you guys plan on doing a lot of marketing on those platforms to bring in players initially? Or do you have some sort of like cap for people? You don't want to have too many people on to start off with because you want to make sure the experience is really strong.
Right.
When the site goes.
No, we'll build up during beta to a number of people that will let us make sure that the site's strong enough. We're not going to hold back post launch. I think it's super important that the games early on, run, that there are games running at various times for various stakes, because I think an especially bad experience is if somebody shows up to try us out and they like to play 1-2 and they show up at whatever time it is where they live and there's not a game running or there's one table running or something like that. So I think especially in the first month, liquidity is the most important thing. Or I don't know if I want to say most, there are a lot of very important things, but liquidity's most important early on. So a lot of social media marketing is obviously very valuable and something we're going to start on immediately.
I might start. I've said this before. Run It Once Poker starts, I might start streaming poker, guys. I might start streaming the great game of Portland, Omaha, because I do want to support the site. I want to make sure that the site, provided the site's good. I mean, but listen, our bar, man, we get we're easy to make happy in poker. I feel like we got some of the shittiest software of all time out there right now that have literally existed for over 10 years exactly the same way, and we're fine with it. We're happy with it. We accept it. We play with it. It is what it is. So I feel like the bar for impressiveness is pretty low right now. So if you come in with something that works, I mean, I think people are going to be on board, and I think maybe we can get more into this kind of later on when the psychic launch. But I think it's going to be very fascinating to see exactly what the other community has to say about this, especially people that we both know who may work for other sites, who may be friends, who are sponsored by other sites, because I think that the more community support Run It Once Poker gets, the better off it's going to do. But a lot of those people who I think are prime time supporters are also affiliated with other poker sites right now too. So I think that could hurt the maximum amount of influence that Run It Once Poker could have, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, certainly, other sites have signed very valuable people in the community for good reason. But yeah, there's still a number of people unsigned, and I do think that one of the competitive advantages, or kind of one of the assets that Run It Once has, is the poker community as one of many marketing tools. And part of that's on us to have created policies and features that everybody likes, because I feel like there are a lot of people that are really excited to support us, not only by playing but by spreading the word. But we first have to deliver something that they're not going to lie. They're not just going to tell everybody it's awesome if they don't think it is. So yeah, we have to deliver, and I think that we will.
I think so too, man. I got faith. I'm a hopeful kind of guy, though, but I got faith that it'll work out pretty well. I mean, listen, guys, we got ACR right now. You understand that they're having alleged DDoS attacks. And by the way, if you got money on Winning Poker Network, I would advise you take your money off. That's my advice. Before I said there was no security, but now I'm saying it. I don't know what's happening with these alleged DDoS attacks that they've been going through, but I got a bad feeling about whatever's going to happen on the site. So just remember, you can always put money back on the site, but be careful, guys. Yeah, man, it's crazy out there, Phil. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy with some of these sites being offered, but I mean, what can we expect if these sites are offering action to players in the United States and they don't care about the players? What recourse as a community do we really have except letting people know that this is happening and just stay away from there?
Yeah. You have to, for sites like that, you have to accept the risk. It's kind of part of your EV calculation for playing there. But yeah, I agree. Sites that are operating in places where they shouldn't operate in, and that don't have. I don't know if they have gaming licenses or anything like that, but but yeah, it's yeah.
I've looked into that. I've looked into this alleged game. I mean, I don't fucking know what's happening on that site, man. Let me get some shouts. Phil, you got a shout you want to give? You got want to say what's up to someone out there?
Man, well, shout out to the Run It Once team. There are a lot of people working very hard over in Malta and some elsewhere to make this happen. And a lot of people, are I'm the representative, and I talk to the community about my ideas, but they're ideas that we've come up with together, and not only with our poker room management team where the ideas were conceived, then the product team where ideas were designed to basically there's a lot that goes on, specs written up, developers getting started and building it. There's a lot of process there, and for everybody that likes the ideas, I end up getting a lot of credit where that credit should be spread amongst a lot of people.
So you didn't do it all yourself? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I wish that I could.
Surprise, guys! He didn't do it all. I think some people are like, "So who's Phil?" I actually get this question a lot. So who's Phil doing this by himself? How's he doing this? I'm like, yeah, it's just like Phil and a couple of guys who run it once, kind of putting this together. They're like, really? I'm like, technically not. No, there's a bigger team of people. How many people you got in the team, Phil? Is it a big team? You got a bunch of?
I think we're at 35 currently. We're also still hiring. I had 2 interviews this morning.
What are you hiring for, Phil? Maybe we got some eligible applicants. We got a lot of winning smart poker players in our chat.
Well, The thing is, so we've made some job postings on Run Once training on the forums, and then I've tweeted about them when we have. We're currently not in the early stages of anything. There are 2 roles which I'd posted before. One is community engagement manager, which is like social media forums, things like that. And the other one is poker analyst, which that role is kind of like taking part in poker decisions and then analyzing the data, the health of our games, reporting on that, things like that. And both of those are in kind of their final stages currently. So yeah, nothing right now that's in the early stages. But if we do some pods in the future where I have another announcement and something comes up, this is definitely a good place to talk about it, get some people interested.
Well, I got a couple shots to give Phil. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
I gotta give a shout out. I see some people in the chat. I see some dedicated, crazy people in the chat. My boy Jack Fleming out there, as always. My man Jack, what up, Big Poppy? What's going on, brother? My girl Sasha, what up, Sasha, baby? Thank you for the question earlier, Sasha. My man Scuff Comedy, one of the weirdest commenters, but I got a lot of love for him, man. What up, Scuffed? Alex Quinn, shout me. Alex Quinn, you're shouted out, my friend. Big Poppy says, what up? Clip Slip, what up, Clip Slip? What's happening, man? What's going on? Martin Dam, what up, Big Poppy? Lauren Shields, shout out to me, Papito Conamosa. Josh, oh, what up, Big Josh? What's happening? Tiago Mota, queremos Mota. Magic Roga Koki, what up, Big Poppy? Anthony Colavita, Steven Stereo, who else I see, man, out there? Jimmy Rustler, what up, Jimmy? Chris O'Grady, how many perks is this dude on? Is that me? Is Percocet supposed to upper or lower? I think it's a downer. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know.
Man, perk.
I mean, yeah.
Are you on Percocet, Phil?
No, not currently.
You want to talk about with me? Wait a second.
No.
Do I take it a day or just at night? Or what do you think?
Now I'm curious which of us he's talking about. I am very tired.
I'm curious too.
I'm very tired, but yeah.
You seem tired, Phil. You seem like, I mean, been sleeping a lot. What's your schedule been like, man? What have you been doing with yourself?
No, I mean, I it's not like obscene for people that actually have jobs. It's normal. I wake up like around 8 and have meetings usually because Malta's 9 hours ahead. So like I'll have a lot of 9 a.m. meetings, which is 6 p.m. for them. So usually a lot of morning meetings with Malta. Today it was 2 interviews, and today was all meetings. I had the 2 interviews and then meeting afterwards about the interviews, and then Run Once training meeting, and then I'm here with you. So not a lot of solo work today. Yeah.
Are you feeling the pressure? Are you feeling like, because I mean, we got to think about this. You come on the podcast now. Before you come on the podcast, we're just talking like we can kind of say different things. We can make some jokes. We can say some things, but now you're getting into the point where if you're in charge of a major poker site that potentially wants to build into something extremely special, you feel like you're extra on edge because you want to watch what you say. And if you word something this way, people are going to go fucking freak out about it here potentially. I would imagine, because like, I mean, I feel a little bit of that when I do things like this too. And I can't imagine being in your position where you have the poker community sort of like being like, oh my God, this is going to be something special. This is going to save poker. And then you have some people saying like, this shit's trash. This is that. And I just imagine it's a weird position to be in right now for yourself as you start off as a poker player. And now you're sort of transforming into this something else, but still in the poker world.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of as a person tend to worry a lot about what I say anyways. And there's definitely more pressure, but and I'm sure, I'll say something the wrong way and people will pinpoint something that I said and be upset about it. That'll happen. But in general, I'm not too worried because we're not making any decisions that we, want to hide. And that's, a big part of Run Once is we want to be transparent and talk about why we made decisions that we made and talk about, the things that we've already talked about as well as, future rules and rake and rewards and things like that. And, we have not made any decisions that I need to hide. So it's not hard in that respect. But yeah, it is. I guess I do. Yeah, it's a little weird. Just the team has grown so much since it was just a handful of guys and run once training. The team has grown a lot, and that I guess that. But yeah, it feels different. But in practical terms, I don't think there's anything that I'm going to say wrong. There are things I might like not describe very well and have people, and then I need to correct myself. But yeah, there aren't any things that we need to keep secret.
Will you be planning to operate back-end super user software like Russ Hamilton did for Ultimate Bet?
So we talked over that for a while, and yeah, we went with no super users.
Good.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we talked it through and came up with the policy that I feel comfortable defending.
I like that a lot. There ain't going to be no leaked meeting from Run It Once headquarters 3 years from now with Phil talking about, all right, let's work in that backdoor code so that Jimmy from India or Indian developer can potentially work in a backdoor to be able to see the whole cards and then fuck up the entire site, man.
Yeah, no, the leaked meetings that would maybe be a little bad is just every time, because every time you have to come up with rules or features or additions to the game, changes to the game, or like bonuses even, just you have to go through so many iterations because there's just a way to exploit it. And so you might hear us cursing about the people that are going to exploit the whatever idea we came up with, and then we can't do some things that we want to do. But yeah, other than that, nothing.
Can there be an exploit team made up of a team of people who just try to exploit everything that's in place on the site? I want to be on the exploit team. I want to just figure out the exploits and then report them, and then you guys can fix the exploits.
I think yeah, the community is gonna help us with that. I think we do a very good job. Like I said, it's a lot of conversation about how somebody's going to exploit the whatever rule we put in place. And like I said, at the top of the pod, fairness is very important. So we don't want people taking advantage of other people. So yeah, we think about it a lot, but there'll always be something, and we'll find out from the community or from you directly.
Do you think the anonymous factor at the table means that you should defend your big blind more or less against a button raise at the Great Game of Pot Limit Omaha, depending on assuming the rake isn't super high?
I think the anonymous I don't think anonymous will factor in very much. I think it'll be based on kind of the game quality and like perception of the average player. But I don't think anonymous should make. I guess maybe if I feel like I could get away with some more exploitative things when they don't know who I am, then perhaps I could play more hands. But no, I don't think it makes a big difference.
I think it's a bit less, depending on if you don't know a player I think it's a bit less. Like, I'm trying to think about. Yeah, I definitely think that for me, when you go in and play anonymous versus play regular, when you play with people all the time, you sort of know their tendencies. You know that they're sort of c-betting maybe a little too much, but play weaker on later streets, or maybe they check back a lot and then they let you take away pots, on later streets and turn and rivers. And I think without the anonymous factor, maybe against certain players, you might defend less. You might defend more if they're showing obvious signs of being completely awful. So
I think that the decision is based on where you get your edge in regular screen name games. So if you're a more GTO player, I think that maybe is not very good at like leveling, let's say, or exploiting, then I think you can defend more because your disadvantage is taken away that you would have in other games. And if you're more of an exploitative player, but your fundamentals aren't as strong, then you should defend less because part of your advantage is taken away. We solved it.
Yeah, I mean, anonymous has always been something weird for me because I've always done really well with anonymous because it does favor a pretty heavy exploit style. So if you're good at leveling and really good at exploiting and really good at sort of making these adjustments that are not standard at all, and there's really isn't a lot of material out there on anonymous poker to begin with anyway. So if you build a good strategy, then yeah, I mean, you can really crush on the anonymous sites because you can just do some things that like are awful. Like if you know the players' names, they're terrible to do sometimes, but you could do it at anonymous with the idea of setting up some sort of metagame with other players. Too much strat. We're not going there, guys. Listen, we're save that for anonymous. I almost, what's funny? I almost wrote something out one time because I was like, you know what? I never want to play anonymous ever again. I think it just made me a lot worse at poker. Because I would notice like I'd go play on Ignition, then I would go play on other sites. I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, I don't know. It's just Ignition's like got me all playing weird now. That doesn't really work on these other sites. And I was like, I'm never going to play anonymous again. I was like, okay, how can I ensure myself I don't? I'm gonna put out all the anonymous poker strategy that I developed and that I thought about, and then I sort of felt like worked for me. So that way everyone knows it, and then I'll never play anonymous poker again because everyone has all these good strats out there. And now I'm like, glad I didn't put that out there. I'm glad I've avoided anonymous poker altogether, even talking about these things that can make you good or bad at anonymous poker. So maybe it'll be I don't know, man. I guess is what it is. Guys, save a couple of questions and we're gonna wrap things up. Phil, any other words you want to give to the people out there?
Man, no, I'm never prepared for the open-ended questions like that. No, I've repeated myself a lot actually. I've said enough.
You have repeated yourself a little bit. I agree with you.
Yeah.
They're kind of the same answers though. I'm like, ask a question and you kind of like circle it back to here. I'm like, all right, fuck, let's move on. I know where he's going. Okay, let's go. We'll go to the next topic. That's why some of these topics people are asking, I haven't even brought up because I already like know what the answer is. So I just run it once or run it twice, Phil. There's no way we can run it twice in this site, right?
That was one of the most heated debates within the company. There's not a great reason for it, but I'm still holding off on that just because I think it's a funny one.
Yeah, I'm with it, man. P. Marcel says, hi, Phil. Hope all is going well. Hopefully you got some great advice on game integrity from your team and outside consultants. Looking forward to the site, Peter. Big shout out, P. Marcel out there, man. I feel like he's one of the good commenters on 2+2 in a sea full of not good commentators. Commenters. I really enjoy the posts that he leaves. So big shout out to him, man.
Nice. Thank you.
Big shout out to him. So what's coming up here soon? You playing 300K Super High Roller Bowl? We got you a seat. Are we going to satellite in? Maybe Farrah set. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, is there a chance we see you in that?
No, I don't think so. I initially didn't do it because I thought I was actually going to be in Malta at the time, but trip got moved. So now I'm just not playing because a 300K tournament is not the thing to come back to when you haven't played for a while. I don't know what I'm going to do this summer because the next little while, we'll just be continuing to work. But once summer rolls around, there are tournaments, there are cash games. And like I said, I don't know. I just don't know. Kind of see how the games are, see where things are with the site and how much I'm needed. But I would really like to play. I don't know if I can pull it off.
That's sad, man. Damn, I know you want to play.
Yeah, it is sad.
You live close to where the big games are going to be going on, and people are going to be playing. The whole community is going to be here. Obviously, these are guys you've known for 10+ years, and some people that are good friends of yours too, and they're going to be playing a lot. So I know the influence will be high.
Yeah, I'll definitely play. I'll come out for the main. There are probably a couple bigger, like I don't know, big PLO. I'll play and maybe the 50K because I like the big small field events. Those are fun. But I'd like to play cash if I find the time. It's always weird. I probably should play tournaments, being that I'm kind of an ambassador for Run Once Poker, which getting my name out there and the site's name out there is good. And you don't do that with cash games where nobody sees your results and follows it. But I just don't really want to play a bunch of tournaments. So that's
you're also good at tournaments too, which has to maybe factor into the idea of wanting to play.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a cash game player. I don't know.
Gentleman's agreement, Phil. Gentleman's agreement. Do you know what that's in reference? If I say gentleman's agreement, do you know what that's in reference to?
No, I don't.
Okay. There was a PLO series you put out on a PLO tournament.
Oh, then I do. Okay, it was for me. Yeah, that's when you each put a bunch of money in the pot pre-flop and you just have agreed to Yeah. That's
So during every tournament I've played I've only played PL tournaments, but every PL tournament, every time I'm either going to 3-bet or facing a 3-bet, I always say, well, is this the time I'm making a gentleman's agreement where we're just agreeing to put the money in here? And I'm like, got it. And because like the big theme in the video was that you wanted to play tight. You wanted to not get into spots where you'd be making these gentleman's agreements with people. You wanted to make sure that you got yourself in better situations and you just didn't need to risk your chip stack. So that was one of the most helpful video series I've ever watched on Potluck Omaha tournaments. Debatably the most helpful thing I've ever watched on Potluck Omaha tournaments. And you can find it on Run It Once right now. If you go and sign up, I don't actually have anything else to add after that, but if you go sign up and check it out, it's search by Phil Galfond videos. Go to the tournament one that he did. This was a couple years ago, and it's gotten me 2 cashes in PLO tournaments out of like 6 tournaments. And I'm gonna fucking take it. All right. So thank you, Phil, for that nice video series about
PLO tournaments. PLO tournaments are very weird, and people were really bad for that reason. They're getting better. I think mixed game like limit tournaments are still people are bad for a similar reason. It's because it's even worse. You always have pot odds, and just once you get involved, you're putting chips in. You've made the agreement.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, people are starting playing them enough, and naturally they're going to be less and less sharp the less and less they play, and when they're focusing on other tournament variants. And you think people are getting better at? I mean, I guess they have to be getting better at PLO tournaments because there are more being offered at steps now, and I assume that as there's more being offered, then tournament players are going to start putting more thought and more work into it as they start to play more and they have an opportunity to play more. So it seems like it would make sense that tournaments would then the players would start to get a little bit better over time.
Yeah. I mean, in my experience, it was mostly like online. Over the last few years, I mean, I haven't played a lot in the last year, but online PLO tournaments, I noticed a big difference. In recent years compared to before. People realize that you can't just play it like a cash game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is. It's a really weird tournament game. I actually don't like it as a tournament game, but I love Parliament Omaha. So,
would you like it better if there were antes?
Maybe. Man, it'd be a weird game. I guess so.
It's just really awkward because you have these spots where you have less than 10 big blinds and you're sort of in this position where do I limp? Do I shove? Like, why am I potting? Why am I potting? It's these very awkward sizes and situations that like, I don't really know how to work on these things or study or think about them. I don't like, so it just makes it very strange and then ends up being a very weird game for me, especially with that stack size. And then I'm sure we could figure out some weird things that happen as you increase in stack sizes too. And the 3-betting aspect is sort of taken away in a lot of ways. And maybe there's some sort of way you can then exploit that by 3-betting more because no one's dealing with 3-bets and no one is 3-betting. But at the same time, that's going to start ramping up your variance. And I mean, I don't know. It is a weird game. It's like a different version of Potluck Omaha. When you think about it, it's like there's PLO cash and then PLO tournaments, and they're two different things.
Yeah, I mean, this is true in no limit tournaments as well, but it's so much more true in PLO tournaments where just somebody can make a play that just really harms both of you. Like it's very like you open with Queen Jack 10-9 double suited in a stack situation where mid stacked and they 3-bet with a hand that basically you enter a gentleman's agreement. You're going to call and you're going to, when you flop enough equity, you're going to go with it, and you're just making yourselves get all in a lot. It's just a weird game when other people can like hurt you and themselves so much. And there's not much you can do about it.
Maybe you got to start folding the 3-bets more often. Maybe like some of those hands that seem like obvious calls become folds, and which would seem blasphemous when you think about it. But maybe it's just better to avoid. Like to me, when you say that, I'm like, maybe you're supposed to fold sometimes. I mean, I don't know. Like maybe you don't want to enter in those. Like it's just like it's a very weird way to think about it. And
Yep.
I don't know. I'm kind of getting excited to play a PLO tournament this summer again, but at the same time, I just know how I felt last year when I played for like 4 hours and didn't have a hand, and you just like keep folding. It's like this is whatever. It is what it is. World Series poker coming up, guys. Going to start here in a couple weeks. Are you going to have a booth at the Rio this year at all, Phil?
No, we I think we didn't last year, but we did the year before. I mean, a lounge for a couple of years. Yeah, no, it's the booths are not as big a deal. The lounge is very expensive. The booth less so, but We maybe could have. We maybe should have done a booth, but we've just been focused on so many things that, like having a booth and selling clothes. I mean, it's not plus EV except to get our logo out in the hallway. Probably would have been a fine idea, but yeah, no.
Every players from all around the world coming to the biggest poker tournament and being bombarded in the hallway for phone chargers, being able to see an upcoming new poker site. Yeah, probably been a good idea. I think so. I'm with you, Phil. Hey, Phil, I'm with you, buddy. I think that would have been a good idea too.
Yeah, in the past, it's just like we probably should have thought about it harder this year. We've been so distracted with so many things. In the past, it didn't translate into many signups at all for the training site, and didn't translate into
to be fair, Phil, y'all weren't really doing anything. Okay, you put up the booth. It looked nice, but like nobody was there. No one was like talking. Think about it. If you hired the guy who sells phone chargers and he was just like, run on one subscription, like I think sure it might have annoyed some people, but that would have got you more subscriptions because that fucking guy can sell phone chargers like no one I've ever met.
Yeah, you're right. We have probably taken too much care. Like we care too much about our brand and about like not being spammy and not annoying customers. And like, I don't know, we have, we're learning that we've cared too much about that, and we have to lighten up a little bit, especially with the poker site where it's just so important to be getting it out there, getting the word out. So we're getting a little better with that. But yeah, you're right. Like we never wanted to do that when we had our booth. Like we talked about not wanting to do that and not wanting to bother people and like, yeah, basically like in real life spamming. But probably would have gotten us more signups for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the real hallway is turned into a flea market, like the old swap meet I used to have back in Cicero, right off Cicero Avenue outside Chicago. It's like a swap meet where you got these people in the hallway trying to massage your head and trying to put things up your nose and then trying to sell you a phone charger. It's like, listen, man, we all got a phone charger, bro. If I want to buy a phone charger, I'll go to you and I'll say, give me a phone charger. I don't need you fucking yelling at me all day long for 14 hours straight about the phone chargers in the hallway.
Yeah, no, that's a weird one because I've bought a phone charger when I haven't had when my phone's been dead. Like I've done it then, but they're never gonna. Yeah, like I know when my phone dies and when I need it.
Right.
But, yeah, that is a weird one. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why is this guy yelling? I mean, my God, I kind of want to hire him.
Yeah,
he's a good salesman. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's just really annoying, and I don't know why the real would want to turn it into the swap meet, but. This kind of is what it is. I don't know. Whatever. Let me get one more question, guys. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to let Phil get on his way. You enjoying your night tonight, Phil? What you going to be doing, man? Drinking a Corona, laying back, watching a little bit of Days of Summer. What's that show called? What's the show called? I don't know. I what's it called?
Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives. Yes. Yeah. I mean, come on. So your wife, shout out to Farrah. So wait, she's coming back on Days of Our Lives. That's pretty big time right there, man.
Yeah, no, she's actually in LA right now. I'm going to meet her on tomorrow. I stayed behind this week to get more work done, but yeah, she's filming and the episodes won't be out for, I don't know how long, but for a while. But yeah, for those who don't know, she was on Days of Our Lives and then One Life to Live for, I think a total of 13-ish years. Maybe it's embarrassing that I don't, if I get that wrong, but roughly, that amount between the two. And, yeah, hasn't been on for a little while. Is reappearing, having fun. I think
I haven't seen you rocking the hashtag Mimi Returns yet. Phil, will you be voicing your hashtag acceptance as well too?
I probably should have. At first, she like it was supposed to surprise the fans, but then it and so we like it. Then it leaked, and so now she's kind of embraced. Just it's out, so let's talk about it. But maybe, yeah, I'm still in the mentality of like it's a secret, but it's not. So yeah, I need to embrace the hashtag Mimi Returns.
Yeah, that might cost her like $700,000 not playing poker if she's doing this show though.
Yeah, poker's. I mean, you can get paid well to do the show, but poker's. I think
not $700,000. Allegedly speculating. Who knows how much money they're really playing for in that room? Who knows what's really happening there? You guys are right. Who knows what's really happening there? Yeah. Shout out to Paul Atwell, man. What's up, Paul? What up, Big Poppy, man? What's happening? We have one more question, then we're wrapping up. That's it. Hold on. No, that's not a question. Matt Kirk flipping. No, stop it. Is Matt Kirk going to be a sponsored pro? You going to try to get him on the team?
Man, he'd be a good one. We haven't spoken to him. I play a lot with Matt. The game that I was talking about, that I would play occasionally, he was one of the regulars. So I've played a lot with Matt Kirk, and
okay.
He I think he's come around liking me as a person, but he never likes playing with me. So I might be starting from.
I can understand why he might not enjoy playing with you, Phil. I'm going to be honest with you. I can understand that, especially when he goes and plays with guys like Luce Leon and some of those other guys. I can understand why he might be against the idea of playing with Phil Galfond.
It's funny though. I think because he thinks everybody is bad except for me in the game, and that's not what I'm not.
True. I mean, who's to say that's not accurate though?
I don't think that it's accurate, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you have you have a winning player image for the rest of your entire life. I think anyone that has watched anything PLO related and sees your name associated with PLO, you have a good rag image forever. Basically,
I do, and it's actually a little bit untrue in that, I've played a lot of games that I'm not good at. I've lost, if you look back at High Stakes TV, I'm down a ton of money on an 8-game and triple draw, 08, I think. So I play stuff that I don't mind a CV in. Certainly have. I mean, right now I don't play anything. But yeah, I think I just seem too responsible, probably. Because nobody thinks I'm bad.
No, you're not bad at the Great Game of Polo in Omaha. Come on.
Yeah. I'm not bad at PLO.
Also, it turns out when you're learning mixed games at the highest stakes, you're probably going to take a little hit from some of the top players, huh?
Yeah, mixed games, they just don't work as well for me because I want to be tricky, and you just don't need to disguise your hand over 5 streets of stud before it ends up being too late. You get that one raise on the river. But yeah, that was my problem. I don't like to learn at small stakes.
We can all relate to that problem. I don't think any of us out there want to learn at small stakes either. We all want to hop in and battle. I mean, the problem is you don't really have any other option. Your options were high stakes or no stakes, and when there weren't a lot of other games running at your main games, you wanted to play and wanted to learn, and yeah, it certainly can become fun. Phil, you got Instagram? People follow you on Instagram. Where do you like to post at?
Instagram and Twitter. I'm not. I don't even know what my Instagram handle is. I think it's
Phil.Galfond. That's what it is.
That's what I thought it was.
I was setting you up. I know you have Instagram already for the question. I'm leading you into letting people know where to find you.
I mean, Farrah's telling me I need to be better at it. I want to be better, but I just sit in my office all day. There's nothing to take a picture of. But yeah, I would like to. I'm gonna try on and off when I'm not busy with other things to do a little better on Instagram and Twitter at Phil Galfond.
Guys can study Patrick Antonius. Patrick Antonius decided to do Instagram, and whoever he has as his guy is definitely crushing it. So he's a good model. If you have a boat, if you're in a boat or something like that, or maybe in a tank top, you can use Patrick's strategy. Patrick does it he just turns the camera around. You could always just do that where you just turn the camera around. And you're like, yeah, guys, just finishing up here. Had a couple decisions on rake. We've decided that we're going to have a 35% rake, and you got, and I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe a sarcastic. There's a lot of different strats you could do, so.
Yeah. I should maybe just let Farrah manage it because I don't know. It takes me too long to decide to do something.
Something tells me she would be a good person to manage this. Yes, I feel like she'd probably love that too. Maybe that'd be a good idea. That'd be a good idea right there. All right, guys, I'm going to be back next podcast. I don't know who I'm going to have on. I don't know when it's going to be, but I should be doing a video tomorrow on Friday. If you want to give Phil some ideas or if you have any comments for him, you can go send him a tweet on Twitter at Phil Galfond. Can they email you something or a message or something like that? Where can they?
No, I think Twitter, and then there's a discussion thread both on 2plus2 and on runonce.com. So 2 discussion threads to get the ideas and in front of me and everybody else.
So you got a cute Instagram here, bro. What is this, man? This is some a lot of your wife and a young child.
Yeah, mostly my niece. Because like I said, I don't do a lot of things. So I used to just take pictures of Yeah, my niece and my dog and my wife, basically.
Phil,
No,
you're building a poker site that's going to be one of the best, debatably best poker sites in the world. You're doing something.
I'm doing something, but it's not.
You're not doing it. What are you talking about? You're doing something that's literally one of the most epic, legendary things in the history of poker.
Okay.
That's something. That's you. There's got to be a way to be like, yeah, I'm doing this. Like that's something.
Yeah, there's got to be a way. Maybe it is like sharing like preliminary designs that we haven't approved yet and stuff like that, like decisions. I don't know. There has to be something, but I'm pretty bad at it so far.
Just take pictures of Farrah and post them. You know, like I mean, that's easy. You know, just take photos of you and her. Like, all right, we're doing them. We're watching. What are you guys watching right now? What's your main show? And then that's it. What's the main show you're watching right now?
We just caught up on Homeland. That was so Farrah, before we met, didn't like to watch TV. I like to watch TV a lot. So that was the first show that we watched together, and she got really into it. She still doesn't like to watch as much as me, but yeah, now I've made her sit and watch a lot of TV at this point. What else? That's the main one we just caught up on. We just finished Bates Motel. I don't know if you ever watched that. It's good. It's anyways. It's it's an interesting
hell
show.
of a sell right there for hell of a sell.
Yeah, no, it's a slow show, and it's actually funny because she's always liked it, and I like it when I watch it. But then when we're like the next season's out, and she wants to watch, I'm like, I don't really feel like it. Just,
I felt that.
Yeah. But no, I like it when I do watch it. I like shows though that like you need to watch the next one because you're like you need to see what happens. Whereas
who does a good job? I feel like there was one. I mean, not Sons of Anarchy. I watched that. There was I can't remember now, but there was. I think that kind of did it. Every time the show ended, it was like this insane thing where you're like, God, what happened next? I mean, they just make it. So I was like, I think House of Cards maybe did that for a couple of the good seasons too.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Game of Thrones kind of does. It's a little slower, but yeah, that we also watch. It took me a while to get her to watch that.
Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
My philosophy is anytime a show is like one of the most popular shows in the entire world, it's probably going to be good. And if you check it out, you'll probably enjoy it. Like that. I've always been that way with shows. Anytime anytime I watch it, I'm like, oh, it makes sense why everyone in the world loves this show. And I think Game of Thrones is one of those shows.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we had both her and I had similar experiences on Breaking Bad, which was like one of the most loved shows, and we didn't think it lived up to the hype, but we both liked it, and that's like the worst case scenario for shows like that everybody loves, is like you're gonna like it still. So I agree.
I love that show. That show was pretty good. I mean, I was kind of the same way. I didn't get into it, and then I finally watched the last season after like 2 years in between. I was like, oh, why did I wait? This show was amazing. Why did I possibly wait to do it? I don't know. I don't know what it was. I'm pretty much like anything with FBI, with cops, with like a bank robbery, with drugs. Like I'm in on any of those things. I see that in the title for anything. I'm watching it. So Narcos, obviously my favorite show, and Narcos is an amazing show. I love that show a lot. So, but guys in the chat, much love. If you didn't like the video, actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. If this video does not get 300 likes, no, let me rephrase that again. If you don't like this video, Phil Galfond's going to make the rake 35% of cash games on the site.
Done. Yeah, we can do that.
That's it. Perfect. All right, Phil, I'll be seeing you soon. Me and Phil are going to be, Phil's going on a little trippy set. And then when he comes back, we're going to be recording some Pot Manoa videos together. We're going to take some hands. We're going to go over it. We're going to get together and kind of do that to bring, I kind of want to help. I think it's just a beneficial thing. Obviously, talking PLO with Phil going to be great for everyone out there. Also, be kind of a great way to get Phil out there more as the site gets closer here to launch. And yeah, I've thought that these videos, kind of a combined thing, would be a cool idea to do. So we're going to record some of those. We're going to go over some hands. I got some throwback hands that Phil doesn't know I'm going to throw at him for hands we're going to go over. So like I've had some ideas in mind for this, and I proposed that idea a while ago, and we said let's do it, and then we didn't. But now we're gonna make this happen. So it's gonna be fun. And
now you told them, so we have to.
That's exactly why I did it. So we didn't do that. So like we said the idea before. We're like, oh, that's like that'll be really fun and easy to do. And then we're like, okay, we both go our own little, we get in our worlds, and then we're like, yeah, it's still a really good idea. Let's do that. So, but yeah, Phil, much love. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking more about it. Very excited to see what happens next. I know there is a potential blog post coming out here soon, and I look forward to reading it and seeing what you got to say for it. So,
Cool.
guys in the chat, thanks everybody. Much love.
Thanks, Joey.
Peace.